What's up, family? Welcome to another episode of the Chip Off the Old Block podcast. I am your host, CJ Matthews, here with...
Oh, me. CJ Matthews.
Yeah, man. How you feeling today?
I'm doing pretty good. Matter of fact, I'm doing real good today. Yeah. Got a lot of work done. Can see a lot of things actually coming together, and it's just exciting right now.
Yeah. Got a... in a similar vein, I got a lot I'm working on, so we're getting down to crunch time, so it's a little more intense, but this is I don't know, do you ever find this where it's like crunch time is when you perform the best? It's like, for whatever reason, that the pressure of a deadline or whatever, just the proximity of it just makes you go into a whole nother level. I don't know why, but it's just, if that thing was in me like the whole time, it'd be like, wow.
Yeah. Well, see, some people don't have another level to go to.
Yeah, so that is a blessing.
And that's the difference between some people who can grind at one level and people who can grind at another level. And then the people who get the ultimate grind, which is the victory or seeing the thing that they've envisioned come to pass. You know, a lot of people have dreams.
Right.
Hopes and thoughts and things, but to be able to put that thing in a concept, put it on paper, or put it in a form in which you can bring it to reality, then that's a whole nother level, and it takes a whole nother level of grind. And if you got a good team, sometimes it takes a good team, but there has to be a driving force. Ultimately, for us, that's Christ, which is why we don't have no limits, because we can do anything based on His strength. But we got to have vision, we got to have plans, we got to have the ability to implement, we got to have the ability to evaluate. I mean, there's so much that goes into things that, you know, a lot of times a lot of people don't even have the skill set, don't have the people around them to impart it or train it or the understanding the need to learn it. But, you know, people just say you wait till the last minute. No, I don't. I've never waited till the last minute to do anything in my life.
Right. It's a process. It's an unseen process of something coming together for a while, but just like the actual materialization where somebody else can see it, hold it, touch it, feel it,
right,
may come to pass at a specific time. And I guess that's more so a better way to look at it, because it's a fact. It's like this whole time is like, okay, I'm gaining information, I'm gathering resources, I'm looking at what it is I do like, what I don't like, I'm reading, I'm doing all this, I'm gleaning information, and you know, the whole time you working on it, but it's like when that time comes, it comes, you know. Right. And that even goes back to like school, and maybe that was that was probably a little procrastination, but it'd just be like, okay, project due tomorrow. It's like, okay, I'm working on it. I take it out. You know, we got a couple of weeks to work on it maybe. I take it, I look at it like, okay, yeah, I'm off to a good start. Week later, project due in 3 days. Like, oh, shoot. Boom, 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 boom. And they get it, and they were like, oh, my God, this is great. I'm like, man, you know.
Well, see, you know, I studied different cultures and what time meant to different cultures.
Right.
Okay. And so, because people are always talking about this last minute thing, and I never really, you know how you don't run my life. So, you know, and so then I took this class, and in this class we were studying these different time cultures and things, and the classic cultures and time. And I said, wait a minute, Lord, what is my cultural time? Oh, the minute available. So I don't do anything at the last minute. I do it at the minute that's available to me. Now, if your world is dependent on me to get it done, then you better help me produce that minute.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. It just seems like the best stuff comes under the most pressure, whatever. And that's just been like throughout anything. Like competition is like competition at the highest. Performance is the highest, and you know, just, you know.
And again, everybody's not built like that, and that's why we have to stop trying to be monolithic when it comes to how we get things done and who we are. Basic principles, basic fundamentals, you need to know those things, which is why I've always taught you, and I taught all of y'all in the ministers class. I know the evangelical position. I know the Baptist. I know that stuff. I've studied that stuff.
Right.
So when I make a decision to say, wait a minute, none of this stuff is kingdom. Here's kingdom. all right, then I'm going after it with an informed departure.
Yeah.
Not just saying because I think this or I think that. No.
Right.
No, I think that in your philosophy, along in your journey, you add things to who you are. So time was something that was causing me a lot of stress years ago, and I'm looking up at the pressure, and I'm looking at different things because I was always family, ministry, or work, and school. I was in school for 1,000 years.
Well, at least you got something to show for it.
Yeah, maybe I do, but anyway, so it was always a pressure. It was always, and I said, wait a minute, Lord, you did not build us to be up under all this stress.
No, right, and that's a fact.
Okay, and Jesus said, learn of me, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. So I'm like, that's a part of my philosophy. So how do I do this? So for a minute, I was in a position to do this. If it caused me stress, that meant it was your job.
Yeah.
Then I said, wait a minute.
The power of delegation.
Yeah, right. There was a better way to do this and build teams to get these things accomplished and things like that. And along the way, developing my own personal philosophy around who I am and how I fit into things. Always putting people first.
Right.
And so that's why when people hear me say some of these things, they're like, wow, he's an arrogant dog bastard. I'm like, no, I'm not. That's not what it is. I was just in a position where I could build teams. I could help build leadership, develop staff, develop this, develop that to help me and the amount of things we could accomplish because some people can accomplish several things simultaneously. Some people can't. That doesn't mean a quality of person. Mm-hmm. Some of us are built differently.
Yeah. And I think it's just like, no matter what the thing is, it's like no matter how long I've been working on something, no matter how long I've been thinking about something, conceptualizing it, it's like until launch, it's like it's always just the urge to tinker and to think, and because at any given moment you're gaining new information, you're thinking new thoughts, you got new insights. So it's like, oh no, let me change this, change this, and then it's like even after the fact, even a sermon, even if I write a sermon, it's like until the words come out, it's like it's still under construction, and then I don't know who else will admit this, but I'm sure you will. I don't know about anybody else. But then it's like after the fact, you think about all the stuff that you didn't say, and then you listen to it, like, oh, well, actually, this, and this. And so really, even then, it's not done, but it's,
Well, and that's why when I start y'all out, I give y'all 5 minutes.
No, I'm not saying like the amount of time. I'm just saying it's like you try to, it's like, okay, you've written a sermon, you've crafted it, you studied.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. I know what you're talking about. I understand what you're talking about, but some people never got the memo that this thing may be still around next week called church. To kill them I'm certainly not hating on long sermons, okay? Because I'm guilty of myself periodically and used to preach a lot longer. And as we started multiple services and multiple campuses, and I'm running all over the place, they got shorter and shorter. Yeah. But I think that you try to communicate a body of work at a moment. It's like even like this, coming to this podcast now, I'm like, wow, I remember that, probably before you were born, for sure. I took a couple courses, and some of the information was journalistic. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, journalism, that's a pretty nice way to look at things and to do research, because that's what preaching really is research.
Right.
And you're presenting an argument, so there's law. You want to have facts, so there's journalism. And so, but I had looked at that, and I was thinking that, like, for this podcast, I'm like, wow, you got to get those skills, research skills, the need to be factual.
Right.
Okay. I know that's not a big thing in journalism today for everybody.
Well, there, real journalism and integrity, that thing does exist. It's just the amount of people with a platform has largely increased, so the art and the science of it, just like anything else,
decreases.
Right.
the need for it too. Unfortunately, the more popular it becomes, the less need. Same thing like preaching, and everybody has a right to listen to what they want to listen to, and I guess preach whatever they want to preach. But the science, and that's what's important to me, and always has been important to me, is the science. Which is why when this pandemic hit us in March, totally caught off guard like the rest of the world. But I said to our members and I said to our family, I will follow the science. I will watch the numbers, and that will determine how we respond. Until then, let's protect ourselves by doing all the protocols as well as learning about viruses. Viruses are not new.
Right.
The difference in this one is we don't know its behavior, though we should have learned a lot more by now.
Right.
And I'm sure there are people, good medical people, good scientists, who are learning and getting learnings. The problem is we got to filter all that through all the noise.
Right.
When I was back in the day, we used to have CBs, Citizen Band Radio.
Yeah, I just can picture those cars with those huge antennas riding down the street.
And some of us, when there was a statute on that, I don't know, but some of us had illegal power. Oh. We would 200 watts, 150 watts in cars. But some of us figured out how to hook up 500 watts.
Yeah, it'd be hard for them to prove that.
Oh, good. So, yeah. So anyway, it was, it'd be interesting. It's just an interesting time. But on some channels, there was nothing going on. It would just be noise.
Yeah.
And they called it hashy-mashy. Because this all came from the truckers,
Hashy-mashy, yeah.
Right. Because you could get hooked up with a trucker traveling, and they would help give you. They were the GPS back in the day.
What y'all used to be talking about?
Oh, nothing. It was just talking smack, talking life, talking general. It was different codes and different things. And we actually had a club, and we just really had cabaret parties. But we all had home bases as well as car CBs. We had base stations in our homes, and those were larger antennas with more power. And you could talk in other states and cities if you had that kind of power.
Well, so y'all had like a mobile radio station.
Technically, that's exactly. And for those of us, and I had a home base, those of us who had home base stations, we had a little bit more.
Yeah. So y'all was like ahead of the internet era.
Well, technically, if you were listening to your radio with our power and we stepped on you, you couldn't hear your radio. On the AM side, for sure. FM was a little harder.
No, that's a good point, though. You got to filter it through the noise. And there is a lot of noise, especially in the season that we're in with, 5 minutes away from the election.
Absolutely.
And I think it's really critical. And I think that's one of the reasons why we exist. I mean, even though, obviously, everyone has their own biases. But I would like to think that, our biases are at least in favor of the people. Right. So, I guess it depends on who you ask, but there is a lot of noise. But one of the bigger thing that's been going on, it's all good. This week or recently is this whole Ice Cube thing. And so we know that I'm not sure when he first start putting this plan together or start putting it out or whatever, but he put out this plan basically for black people, and he from my understanding wanted to get some basically some things from either party, basically to say, okay, we'll put this in place, we'll give you some guarantees or some kind of things. And that was the case with the plan. So basically, apparently since then he's presented the plan to both. I'm not sure if he spoke to Joe Biden specifically or just people from his team. He spoke to them, and apparently, they said, hey, we'll basically look at this once the election is over. So it's like, oh, okay, well, y'all diss me, so let me go see what the other group has to say. And apparently, they look at the plan, and then they said, well, we'll make some concessions in our plan based around what it is that you're presenting. And so as a result, a lot of people feel a lot of different ways about that. I want to get your thoughts. I have some thoughts, but I want to hear what you got to say.
Well, when he first put the plan out, I heard the noise. I'm glad we described noise, because it's basically on the CB channel, there was nothing going on. But when he first put it out, I heard the noise, but then I went back and looked at some of it, and then I saw where he put in there that if you have a difference of ideas or difference of opinion, then email me. He was saying reach out, and who actually did that, I don't know if anybody reached out to him. But the moment I saw it and heard the noise, I reached out to some people that I know and said, hey, are you guys reaching out to Ice Cube? Are you guys reaching out to that community? Are you guys reaching out? And obviously not, okay? And that's so tragic and so unfortunate. So I think some of the criticism he's receiving is unfair.
Okay.
All right, because of the fact that if he did what he said, and I believe he did, I don't think he has any reason to give fake news,
right,
or Fox News. Then, hey, I have this plan. You don't want to see it after the election? Well, you want to see it now? I'm going to sit down and talk with you. I got criticism for 20, 30 years because I work with different Republican administrations, as well as Democratic administrations. I went to the White House under every president since Bush won. And when you're working on behalf of the people genuinely, then what he said about, hey, I got to deal with who's in power.
Right.
Now, here's my caveat.
Okay.
Because I don't support what he did, or I'm not angry with it and hating on him for what he did. But just so that the people that listen to us are clear,
mm-hmm.
because I sat with them around their opportunity zones, right in my office.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it up close and personal.
Right.
So the Platinum Plan, which is Ice Cube's plan, and the opportunity zones, which was much better for the business community than was the black community, but it was a start.
Right.
The $500 million Platinum Plan promises were made 3 years ago. The Platinum Plan promises were made 3 years ago. He's not running on the future presidency like Biden.
Right.
He's running as the president.
And that's the difference. And kind of beyond the presidents, that was just my whole sort of thing, my takeaway, which I don't want to necessarily distract from the point, because that's a perfect point. And kind of to that point, it's like, even you said you sat with the people to talk about what their plan was. Well, the thing about it was, he was in office. He was the president. They were in charge. So it's like, people's response to anybody sitting down with the president early on was like, oh, you're a this and a that. All the derogatory names they going to call black folks. You a sellout and you a this and you a that. And I'm like, well, it's no longer about being a Trump supporter. He was in office. So it's like, what are we going to do? Are we just going to sit out? Are we going to stay at home? Or are we going to try to force their hand to do something to help our community?
Right. Well, I have and so he is the president. All right. And the last 3 years, the things he could have done, he has not done. Matter of fact, in what I would see as the most potential for a movement in my lifetime. Now, remember, I was born during the King era, 1953. But the most potential for a move in this country since civil rights, voting rights, fair housing rights, was at Mr. Floyd's murder, where you had the attention of the United States of America. We could have moved forward on police reform from brutality to sensibility, okay? We could have moved forward on criminal justice reform because the bill is on this table. We could have moved forward on voting protection because all of these bills are on McConnell's desk. So unlike Ice Cube, who is coming in at this level and has a right to come in, Democrat or Republican.
Yeah, 100%.
And I know people can't understand that.
Yeah.
Okay?
No, I respect that because, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like my desired outcome is what's best for my people, for the community.
Well, see, the one thing about, and I've never been in the position to have that kind of wealth. I've been in the position to have my independence.
Yeah.
I don't give it to no, I keep trying to tell you this ain't no Christian show, but I don't give it to nobody, okay? All right, so, but to be independent and wealthy, he knows why he's there.
Yeah.
All right, and so if he's there for the platinum plan, then it'll be, given his history, I don't think this man gonna get off lightly if he wins. All right, now the last 3 years, there's been nobody to hold him accountable for those things because nobody around him, so I'm not hating on the black people around him, including the chief of the Senate who gave him the Senate, nobody challenges him on anything.
Right.
Other than CNN, and then they don't, they're a little fly on the elephant, so that doesn't matter. So it's real easy to hate.
Mm-hmm.
It's real easy to hate. It's just,
it's real easy to hate.
It's just so easy.
It's very easy to hate,
and that's the world we live in.
And kind of to that point, I read a quote today. It's about leadership because what he's doing is showing leadership. It just says it's human nature to want to be liked. If you focus on being liked, you can't lead. Leadership is inherently difficult because it requires a leader to take people where they don't naturally want to go. You can focus on leading people or focus on being liked.
Right. I think that the strength of the African American community, one of our potentials is voting.
I agree.
But we can't vote blindly and we can't belong to a party.
Right.
But I can't have these conversations, so listen to the podcast after November 3rd, because I can't afford to give people who are already on the fence more reasons to be on the fence.
And ever since the announcement, and this is because it wasn't just Ice Cube, there have been others. To me, I'm not sure if we said this before on the podcast, my only issue with it was timing.
Right.
Yes. This close to the election, it's like the messaging can't.
Yeah. Well, that's where his mature critics would understand that right now and see, the president has co-opted and inherited both. He co-opted the Republican Party, which he took it over, literally.
Right.
But he inherited it also.
Yeah.
And that is the Confederacy. See, those statues and flags have been there for a reason.
Yeah, that's what I think it was Dave Chappelle. He had a joke. He was talking. He says, why do how come you go to like these little flea markets, you go to these auctions or whatever, you never see any of the robes, the Klan robes. The reason you don't see them being sold is because they in somebody's closet.
Yeah. And so he inherited. Now he co-opted, trust me, and he added all his value. Okay, which gave people the right to come out. They didn't have to have sheets no more. So you had to have sheets back in the day because they were the preachers, they were the deacons, they were the trustees, they were the council people. They were the higher ups in communities.
Right.
So the robes was to hide their identity, not their purpose or their mission.
Right.
So that during the day they could still be Mr. So-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. Well, what he did was to the Confederacy said, wait a minute, baby. We ain't got to hide this stuff. All right, y'all been on them places where the militias are and stuff. Come on downtown with me. So even though he co-opted, he inherited, but that he inherited will be here long after he's no longer the president.
Right.
And that's the Confederacy. That's the conservative movement. That's why when black evangelicals try to talk to me about biblical values, I tell them they're crazy. All right? I tell them they're crazy because the Confederacy has only had one goal.
What's that?
To let it be resurrected and dominate this nation.
Yeah.
When people talk about going back to American values and making America great again, they're talking about a time pre-Civil War.
That was the entire messaging of the RNC, or at least that's what I took from it. That's all I was hearing. That language was just crazy. It was
the Confederacy is alive and well, and the hope of the South is here. And the reality of the North, because see, those of us who are up north, or those of us who were Northerners, all right, we knew there was racism,
right?
But because we didn't have the water hoses and the dogs, and they weren't lynching us as in the same way, you know, we just felt that, you know, this little racism we got, and then we was like, wait a minute, fool, racism is racism.
Yeah. Racism is racism.
First high, last five, you know, all the repertoire. So, you know, when people say there's no systemic racism, I understand why they say it. Because you're a part of the system that's keeping it alive.
Hold on, say that one more time.
When people say there's no systemic racism, I understand why they say it. Because they are a part of the system that's keeping it alive. If the white church said tomorrow, no more racism, it would end tomorrow. So don't talk to me about biblical values, and don't tell me you love me. Tell me you don't mind feeding me so you can get your guilt off. Tell me you don't mind sitting with me singing Kumbaya so we can cry in stadiums and act like we didn't reconcile. How do you have reconciliation when there's no conciliation?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I went to all that stuff. I go to everything.
Yeah,
but I'm me when I go. I say what I say when I go. I don't go in there hiding.
I can bear witness.
Okay, all right. Because I do genuinely.
But I mean that's necessary though, because you know, unless in that, see, and that kind of goes back to the point of the Ice Cube. Unless there's somebody there to confront, unless the conversation is happening, there's no progress.
I won't name any names but mine. But our philosophy was we needed somebody in every camp.
Yeah, that goes back to like the you familiar with the spook who sat by the door?
Absolutely.
Well, I'm sure, but you know. So it's like,
okay, can you imagine? All right, Bishop Henry McNeil Turner back in the day, all right, during Reconstruction, he organized blacks in the Republican Party. All right. So what if Cube goes in?
Mm-hmm.
What if this, I know all the praying people who's praying to think God has abandoned them. But what if this man, all the Christians, black Christians and liberal, whoever they are, Christians would think God has abandoned them. But what if this man wins and Cube goes in and the Platinum Plan becomes a reality, not the opportunity zones that's been fake.
Okay, but the
Platinum Plan becomes a reality.
Yeah, that'd be major.
All right. Then what happens? Next cycle? Oh, no. We voting with Cube, baby. We ain't voting Republican. We voting with Cube. Why? Because the moment we're there, what happens? We win easily. Oh, no. Y'all won easily? Bring back a Affordable Care Act.
Yeah.
Y'all won easily? We want the Lewis Law bill to be passed. Y'all won easily? You got 18 months to get it done. Not 3 years, that's too long. You got 18 months to get the bills off McConnell's table.
Right. So,
and if you don't, we going back over there.
So what you're speaking to is political power, basically.
Political power.
Political base.
And the frustration right now that everybody has is you can't have it being black and loyal to a party.
So a lot will argue that, a lot of people, I've heard this, a lot of people say that, you know, blacks don't have any political power because we don't necessarily have the resources or have the wealth to back it up.
All myths.
Okay.
No group wins without us.
Right.
No group. Now, and if you're in a 90% white suburb and you're running for the suburban whatever or some city, but countywide in Kiowa County, you can't win without us. Federal elections, when it comes to the presidency of the United States of America, can't win without us.
Yeah, and I'm sure I didn't fact check the numbers, but this little map come out that was showing the 2016 election, and it was showing all of these different states and the amount of black people, not even in the state, in like those key cities. Like if this many black people didn't vote, so like Philadelphia. So basically, I guess Trump won Pennsylvania, and that, let's just say he won by 10,000 votes. Well, that means 30,000 black people in Philly didn't vote. Meaning,
hold on, good point. But that's the narrative people want out there.
That it's our fault?
Yeah. No, because how many votes did they say were discounted in Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
Because it was more than we not voting.
No.
There were more votes. Right now in North Carolina, they got 1 million votes that they're discrediting. And 60% of them are African American.
Yeah. I guess that's the same machine that caused the chaos the other day when it was the last day to register to vote.
Oh, yes. See, now, therein lies the difference in where we are now, because he got people.
Yeah.
Yeah, ain't no Republican or Democrat in a long time have had people. He got people. And they will do that kind of stuff. They will kidnap the governor of Michigan. And if they get her, they will get the governor of Virginia. He has, maybe we better shut up. He got people.
No, it's kind of scary. It's sad. It's crazy, but that is the reality.
Well, I mean, because we don't understand this country. Man, this is a great place to live. All right? But if you don't know the game and you ain't figured it out, then you will be a pawn.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, some of the poorest areas in this country, with some of the poorest people in this country, are diehard Republicans.
No, man.
I'm only referencing that. I'm not hating on poor white Republicans. Dave Chappelle, you know what he said?
What he said?
He said, y'all voting for Trump. Y'all's lives ain't no better. He ain't hurting me. I'm rich.
No. Yeah, I did hear that. Yeah, that's a fact.
Yeah, he ain't hurting me. I'm rich, It's
right, because he live out rural Ohio. He live in the Trump Ohio.
And I guess if the journalism in me would have knew the city and stuff, but I'm just I like Dave Chappelle, so I just listen to him. But again, that has nothing to do with people who are either Confederates,
mm-hmm.
all right, people who are conservative.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a philosophy.
Right.
Or people who hate other people.
Right.
Okay? So there's different variables.
That's the question, though, because in some of this philosophy, or not in some of this philosophy, but the people, it's like a mindset that has been passed down. So, we Romans 12, be there transformed by the renewing of your mind. So it's like, how do you affect the mindset of those people?
Well, first I'm gonna say this.
All right.
No, it's nothing. It's not that. Well, maybe it is. I don't know. But anyway, I'm gonna say this. All right. See, we think white people are so different from black people.
Okay.
See, what Jesse Jackson said, I've learned to be true about most people.
What's that?
The average black person, by the time they get through with life, they ain't got much time for nothing else. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it's the same way for those people. So they've adopted a philosophy. They've adopted a value system or whatever you want to call it. And that's how they live their life, because then at least that I don't have to worry about. Somebody got my back on this. All right. And see, the bigger thing between conservative and liberal philosophies in this country is the position of the federal government.
Right.
Because when conservatives say we don't believe in big government, our immediate retort is, but you don't mind bailing out the banks. That's not what they're talking about. That's not what they're talking about.
Yeah. What they're talking about is a battle that has been going on since the country started.
Absolutely. And you have to remember that we are a democracy.
Well, a democratic republic.
Well, no, we are a republic with a democratic form of government.
Right, a republic, but we vote them in.
Right, we get to elect them.
Right.
Well, of course, I don't know after this guy because they're gonna change all that now that they got the court. But anyhow,
yeah,
they got 26 states. See, the goal has been to get enough states to have some constitutional amendments.
Yeah,
that's the next goal. See, the little picture is the court.
Okay.
Senate, one of the houses. All right, White House when we can. So we got 2, bam. But then ultimately, can we get enough states to do some constitutional amendments? So
really, it's chess, not checkers.
Oh man, you must be my son.
Well, but that's the task though at hand is how do you let people see the chessboard? How do you help them see it? Because so many people is caught up in so much of the stuff that really doesn't matter, or they allow certain things to make them believe that there is no power, or that, you know what I'm saying, there is no opportunity for change, or, you know, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day because this is just going to happen or that's just going to happen. But it's like some things are actually happening that is going to affect your life, and you can play a role in making it go this way or that way.
Oh, well, you know, first of all, I have to critique my own institution. That's the church. Still the strongest institution in the black community. Institution, I didn't say. Still the strongest institution because it's independent.
Okay.
Somehow we got to form some new partnerships with ourselves.
Within the church?
No.
Or
within
the church
community.
So strategic partnerships.
Yeah. We got to form some new partnerships, and it can't be based on salvation. It has to be based on self-interest.
Self-interest.
My self-interest, I believe, based on the things I read from Ice Cube, is similar, if not the same.
Okay.
But it's close enough for us to be in partnership.
Right.
And I don't know if he would see me as being a partner, but I've listened to most of the young Black Lives Matter activists.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Their interest is similar, if not the same. I would probably say police reform and a new form of policing in our community, which would equal to a dissolution of funding, not defunding.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay. No, you call for the radical.
Right. But even in the radical, it's not like a total.
And I don't think that's what they meant. But of course, in this campaign with this election,
the messaging,
right?
They spin it.
It fit the message that they needed to hear.
Yeah.
And to spin. Okay. But anyway, even with that.
Okay.
I'm sure we are closer together. All right. If we get rid of this idea of salvation. All right. Now, again, I want the world to know Christ.
100%.
I work every day for that. But I also want to be a part of a movement in the black community that empowers the destiny of our children and makes lives better for everybody who's currently alive.
Yeah.
Okay? And so if that means I got to be in partnership, as Ice Cube would say, with a Republican Trump. In my case, Black Lives Matter, the rap community, the sports community now that's coming together. Because, see, the power of this pandemic is place is no longer relevant. Bron is in L.A. Cube is out there too. But now they can get on a Zoom call and we can say, hey, we need 10 million people to register in 10 cities, in 10 states where they're squashing the rights of incarcerated people to vote.
Yeah.
So we need 10 million people to sign this petition today that in Alabama and Mississippi, you will give those people the right to vote or else we all moving there.
That'll definitely get some action.
Okay. We have that kind of power right now, and these guys got the following.
Yeah.
That's why they couldn't afford to diss this young man. Not young man, this man.
Right.
Wealthy man at that.
Yeah.
I mean, what's his following?
I'm not sure.
It's significant. I had looked at it back when we were, when he first came out, and I heard the noise because I like Ice Cube as far as his movies, his music, and NWA and everything. So, I believe that, when they came up with their song about the police, that's when policing stepped up to another level. I don't blame them for it because it's already in them. Because I go back to Bull Connor. So
Yeah.
So I mean, new partnerships where there's strategic alignments. Some of us can deliver services. Some of us can help raise resources. Some of us can hold the government accountable because they got a role. See, the conservatives don't mind us doing anything at the state level, but if the federal government intervenes, that's when they get mad. Why? Because their history is not good from the federal government. Lincoln freed the slaves. That was the beginning. They killed them. I'll probably say that until after the election, every podcast. I'm sorry. All right. The Kennedy said, we're going to step up with our liberalism and we're going to do this and do that. And they killed him.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
King was just like Elvis. I know they still alive. But anyway.
No. I wasn't going to say he was still alive.
Oh.
The prevailing thought is that it was a different group.
Oh, well, I mean, it was still the Confederacy. No, it was not that. I know the thought about the old man's enemies. You got to remember.
Well, that's for another podcast.
Yeah, but you got to remember in this country, back in the day, all the names that were wealth had something in their background that they did was not legal until it became legalized, which is one of my arguments for the legalization of marijuana. All right, because when stuff was illegal, the wealthy people benefited because they controlled it. Drugs in this country is controlled by the government, law enforcement, as well as whoever's getting the top money. I ain't talking about the dude getting the Benz and the Bentley on the street.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's not the one responsible for drugs in this country. Nothing can happen. If they can take down a group of white supremacists in a few months based on intel that's about to deal with the governor, how much more do you think they can deal with drugs coming across our borders? Stopping the population influx of people from Mexico has nothing to do with drugs.
Right.
And more to do with population increase in power. Yeah. Now, if 10 million Mexicans came in tomorrow and said they was all going to be Republicans if they could get citizenship, they'd be here tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you voted already?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm probably going to try to get in early next week. No, for sure.
Before the 21st.
No, 100%. I'm definitely doing it early. I'm definitely early voting.
See, I set a goal for our ministry and our connected family. We go whatever state or city you're in, community, county you're in, to go to your county board of election or whatever's the seat of power in your area and vote before October 21st. If you're mailing in your ballot and you can, instead of putting it in the mail, take it to your board of election. All right? Don't take it to one of the extra boxes.
Yeah.
All right? I know I shouldn't be saying that because all my friends have been fighting hard to get these extra. Take it to the box.
Yeah.
All right? A few more cents, a few more dollars. But, man, I'm so thankful for the folk in Georgia and Texas that stood in them lines all them hours.
Yeah.
Reminds me of the stories that I heard in South Africa from some of them brothers from the ANC and what they had to go through, you know. And that's how we've advanced things in the past, all right? We did what it takes to get it done.
Did what it takes to get it done.
Yep, that's what we've done historically. And that's the resilience of the African American, the blacks in this country, is whatever vitriol has been thrown our way, God has allowed us to overcome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we're overcomers by nature.
By nature.
Yeah, we can endure by nature. No other group. That's why they brought us here. All right? No other group could handle what we've handled in anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, just study world history.
Right.
Okay? And that's why the 1619 Project was so important.
Yeah.
To begin to look at the story again. It's been told. I mean, during the Black Power movement, you know, and they started to have Black history classes in some of the high schools and some of the colleges. They had Black history majors for a while. Some people got locked up in there. Wasn't nowhere for you to go unless you got a PhD and got a fellowship, okay? A lot of those turned out to be degrees that didn't have the same value as the study the value of learning and growing in that particular area unless you really focused on it. But so we've been here before when we were excluded and had to fight for inclusion. All right, I was in a meeting with a group of my evangelical friends, and they began to talk about 1619 and some that happened now, some I wouldn't even listen to. But then I told them, I said, well, you know what 1619 means to me? They didn't have a clue. Of course, I enlightened them, okay, because I love them, all right?
Right.
Okay, and so to get rid of diversity training and to say that because you talk about 1619, you know, you're in the process of hurting America or putting America down, or no. The reality is, reality TV is that in 1619 they brought those first family of slaves, got off that boat. Yeah. But what nobody talks about was the people who came here free.
Right.
Because there were free men and women who came here in 1619.
Oh, it was free men and women that was here before 1619.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and kind of to what the point you're raising is like, it's always never forget until it's that.
Right.
9/11, never forget.
Well, that's one of the things we have to love about our biblical counterparts, and that's the Jewish people, because
never again.
They have.
No, that's what they always say. Never again.
Oh, absolutely, and they have done that. I remember when my brother died. My mom worked with a group of Jewish people, and one of the things they were doing at that time was they were buying buying spots of Israel. And I didn't understand it because they planted a tree in his name in Israel. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow. So then I met one of the lady's sons became converted. And she didn't know what to do because his dad was upset because he became a Hebrew Christian. Mm-hmm. And so I was a new believer. So they said, hey, you know, Charlie, can your son sit with my son? We sat together. Oh, man, it was great. You know, because we were both new, you know. Okay. But he was explaining to me what that was about. I said, man, thank you for your family planting a tree in my brother's honor. Well, that was their way of purchasing a piece of Israel. Mm. So that one day if they bought enough of it, they would own the land. So it wouldn't matter about politics no more because we own the land, which was their inheritance and their birthright. It was theirs anyway. And I know some people aren't going to like that I said that, but that's my biblical worldview.
Yeah, but that's a valuable lesson. We own the land.
We own the land. Amen. And that's the early black families. That's what indentured servitude led us into being hoodwinked. All right, because we knew the value of owning a piece of property. Why? Because it was denied. Yeah. All right, and our foreparents understood things that were denied us. Maybe I don't understand it right now, but I better get it. Yeah. All right, I'll get the understanding later. Right. Okay. All right, and that's why home ownership coming out of the 20s and 30s and 40s became so important. See, the things we're fighting for now are regression. Mm. But if we have to do that to progress, praise God. Yeah. You know, so 1968 Fair Housing Act. I remember your mother now. And this is 1982 or 3. You know, we were fortunate, had 2 good jobs, and we wanted to buy a home. We knew what our price range was, so we knew where we could go. Right. But we had a non-African-American real estate agent. Mm. And for the price we wanted, we knew where we could go. Right. She took us to Barnes and all kind of crap you wouldn't want to live in. Yeah. You know, I'm like, oh, you know, I understand. You don't want to show us the real stuff in this community. Right. You want to show us the worst stuff in this community. Yeah. You know, and so we're a young couple, and so, you know, we caught on to that pretty quickly, but I don't even know how we got to her. I think we saw a house and saw the company or whatever. Yeah, shoot. I think that's technically like illegal. No, it's always been illegal. When we talk about redlining and those kind of things, that the court is Blockbusting. And the court is now, and again, we go back to this court thing. I guarantee you, as those things go before this current court, this current makeup, all those protections will be gone. That's sad. Well, that goes back to conservative philosophy. Let it come back to the state. Right. And we don't want you here no way, so we're going to make sure in our state you niggers act right. Mm. Yeah. All the threats become real in people's minds when they don't know. All the misperceptions become real. Because people are going to hear me and think that I say that every white person is a Confederate. That's not true.
Right.
I'm giving a very specific definition of Confederates.
Right.
And see, I grew up watching those movies with the Union Army against the Confederate Army.
Right.
And how they was determined to be the last one limping. Okay. I didn't understand that as a kid. Okay. All right. But, and it's so tragic and so unfortunate because, as I always say, the land is big enough for all of us. And if we create, I don't even need an equal ground right now. Just don't destroy me for being me. Because we've already proven if you let us in the game, we'll take it over.
Yeah. Every time.
Brian got another chip.
Yeah. I guess we could lighten it up. 4th ring. And, man, that was amazing to see. Great to see, winning championship with 3 different franchises. Just when you look at the stats, it's like mind-boggling. But, of course, him winning this would bring about what? The great debate. And the people is just so – I wish we didn't have to – I mean, I guess these shows and stuff wouldn't exist if it wasn't for that.
Oh, come on. Yeah, right. Listen, because I was alive, I didn't see him fight Joe Louis. All right. And that was the Joe Louis crowd over and against the Muhammad Ali crowd.
Right.
Okay. And then there was not just Joe Louis. Man, I can see his face and my mind escapes me. I apologize to our audience, but those debates historically, because, see, when I look at the debate, and they narrowed it down to LeBron and Michael in the rings, I'm like, man, but when Kareem came into the game with the skyhook, it was nothing like that.
Yeah. I think the arguments be weak. It's like the points that are brought up is like, what? Like, at least make a strong point. Even though, because at the end of the day, it's subjective anyway. There's no concrete answer to say this person is. It's like, why can't we just celebrate all their greatness? And it's like, the only reason why I dislike it is because the greatness that we're seeing right now is there's always a shadow cast over it because of this. And It's like, we can't even appreciate what we're seeing. And we're literally seeing history that we'll never see again. Because, I mean, think about it. Who has had to live up to this amount of pressure from a kid? And not only every time they make somebody the next great, no matter what it is, they never rise to the occasion. The only other person who, and it's different, the only other person that I consider like that in my entire life is Tiger Woods. Like, it's just like their whole life they've been like under the scrutiny and they've been to this and that, and they actually not only lived up to it, but they've exceeded it. Anybody else, they say, oh no, this is the next this is the next that. It may show glimpses of greatness, but they never that thing.
No. And I heard Jim Nance. I was at a place where Jim Nance was talking about Tiger, and somebody asked him that question, and he said, I can only describe it like this. There was a period of time unique in the history where one person came to the golf course every time and everybody expected him to win. He said other times that was great, and he didn't take anything away from your Jack Nicklaus's and your Arnold Palmers, your Sammy Sneads, and on and on and on, your Calvin Peets, he didn't take anything from them. But he said the Tiger factor loomed so large over guys for so long that it's incomparable.
Right.
And so it was interesting to hear him say that. But, again,
even AD, they're like, oh, this isn't LeBron's greatest teammate. Like, they haven't even been together a year. What are y'all talking about?
Well, I mean, again, some of it is 24-hour news.
Yeah.
Some of it is everybody got to have a talk show to have 24-hour news. Some people are good sports analysts, but having grown up throughout the time and eras I have and heard good sports analysts, I'm like, okay, you're a good sports opinionator.
Right.
But I don't see the analysis if you're coming to those conclusions. So, I mean, it's like the haters in Cleveland prior to the last 2 weeks on OBJ, the Cleveland sports media.
Yeah, man, did you hear? They said, speaking of that, OBJ got sent home with some unknown illness.
And we hope it's not the known illness.
Yeah. So
because, you got these elders at our church who are all Pittsburgh fans, and I don't want to have to sit here next week with a Ben Roethlisberger jersey on.
No, man, we got a good shot. We got a good shot at him. And this is, man, I don't know this. I don't know who set up the schedule. It's an interesting schedule, but it'll be this is a good test and it's a good timing. Obviously, barring injury and illness, but that's just part of football. So, it's a good time and it's a good test. It'll be a good measuring stick to see really where we are in the scheme of things. Because if we're gonna do anything, if we're gonna be anything, we can't do nothing unless we beat those boys over there.
Well, no choice. And the good thing is that the number one slot in our division is on the line.
Yeah.
Okay. And we'll be tied. I guess it'll be a three-way tie with us being head to them, Baltimore being head to us.
Right.
Good. Yeah, but we haven't been in the hunt like this in a long time.
Yeah, that's very exciting to see. And congratulations to Ty Lue. They're finalizing a new deal with him. Obviously, it's tough to see Doc go, but
Doc ain't went nowhere.
Well, I mean, he landed on his feet, but
West Coast to the East Coast, baby.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's a great coach, so that goes without saying. But it's good to see Ty Lue get another shot. So obviously, I don't really want them to do anything, but
listen, the Lakers are in a position to be there. Like I said, they need another piece.
They definitely need another piece.
And I think between LeBron and Rich, Mr. Paul.
Yeah, they've proven that much. Right. I don't care what nobody say. Their track record speaks for itself.
Absolutely. So it's it's interesting. It's powerful. Again, it's just those of us who are sports enthusiasts. It's just a good time to see these the athletes because we didn't think we were going to have seasons, and I heard Malcolm Jenkins talking about that earlier today. Because of the number of testers and teams having to reschedule. The NBA was able to do it in a bubble, but
yeah, man, and that was the crazy thing. That's kind of a testament to Adam Silver and they whole crew because they went through this whole thing unscathed. Like not, if I heard correctly, they didn't have one. I mean, well, they had issues with the bubble, people coming out going in, but I don't think they had any positive COVID.
So, but what does that say to you? And it's a good segue into my next subject. Well, what does that say to you?
What?
That if they, and of course they had more money than whatever, but if they could put together a community and keep them safe with a plan,
right?
How come America can't do that?
Well, it speaks to leadership, and that's why I was giving credit to Adam Silver. I mean, we've sat
and the Players Association.
No, not just him. Yeah. That whole group. But I mean, we've sat across from them and just heard the mind and the thought process and leadership.
Right, and again, I've had the privilege, whether it was Mr. Silver, the previous commissioner who passed recently, I believe. When you've been in a room with those people. And you get to hear him in a different light because the cameras aren't on.
Right.
And you're like, wow, listen to this dude. It's like, wow. And he started to talk about certain, when you were there with me the last time. And it was real interesting. So to hear Malcolm Jenkins come out and say what he said today, to hear LeBron say what he said. But then again, because I want to just hit on this a moment, not because I'm trying to be a prophet or anything, though I am a prophet. I said early on, I said in March, once it became politicized, there would be no hope because you need to follow the science. You need to follow the numbers. Just look at the map for yourself to determine what you need to do as a family. Mm-hmm. But then I said, okay, he does have a concept and a plan. And everybody's beating up the president because he doesn't have a plan. He has a plan. Yeah, and he has a concept. And I remember when he bought into it, okay, because they were projecting 2 million people dying early on and all these big numbers. And then they came down to a few 100,000. And at that moment, it became concrete to him. All right? Because he's a businessman. He's not a politician. The one thing his followers like, that's one thing his followers like, and maybe some other people will be drawn to him because of that and his independence. But I said back in April, he has a concept. I didn't understand it then like I understand it now. And I didn't understand all the nuances like I perceive I do now. Mm. And that was herd immunity. That was his plan all along.
Let everybody get it.
Well, because once you get it, you're building up immunity,
right?
Immunity. You're building up the vaccines within your body, within your
antibodies
within your immune system. All right, some people live, some people die. Some people now, unfortunately, are starting to catch it again.
Yeah, I was reading about that as well.
Okay, but think about it. I'm getting ready to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. I don't call it Obamacare because it's the Affordable Care Act. They use the word Obamacare to demonize it.
Right.
Okay, you got to understand how these people think. Mm-hmm. So the Affordable Care Act is potentially going to be gone. And I got 130 million people with pre-existing conditions. I got 21 million people riding on my health care dime. I'm paying my money for it. Good Christians. Mm-hmm. All right. I would pay more if it meant somebody else could have health care. All right. And when I told a Republican business person that, they was like, you probably would, CJ. we have a good relationship. But so think about this herd immunity. Mm-hmm. When he heard that it killed minorities more than anybody else, the light came on. Mm. And think about it. Right now, 8 million people have it. In order for herd immunity to work, that means that 60% of the country has to get it. That's 200 million people. Mm. So if you look at the quotient or the relationship between 8 million and 200,000, do the math. And if we know that minorities are going to die, and if we know that the weakest among us, since strong survive, are going to die, I solved some of my problems when it comes to my new Trump care plan.
Yeah, that's an interesting take.
No, that's the take, baby. Don't call it what they want to call it. I keep on breathing 6 more months, okay? Because I don't care who wins the presidency. What has been done is not going to be corrected overnight. And the other piece to this, no stimulus money.
No stimulus money.
Trump care. Cube, that's Trump care. Why? Because every week another Shaker Hardware went out of business.
What? Wow.
I've been going there all your life.
Well, no, I ain't going to down talk them, especially. I ain't going to kick them while they down.
Well, they ain't down no more. They gone. I'm not saying it like whatever.
No, right.
That's the greatest play. I'm just saying in our community, they were a stalwart.
No, for sure.
All right.
Wow. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Man.
Okay. All right. So businesses are going out every week. So it was almost like Bush too. Just not as bad. Because the economy that Obama and Biden inherited didn't come from them. See, people don't understand how the affect works.
Right.
The economy that Trump inherited didn't come from him.
Right.
It came from Obama and Biden rescuing this nation.
Right.
All right? And the criticism they took. And they did it with 2 years without any either House or Senate. And then for 2 years with no Senate. So that means they could pass nothing they wanted, even though they had the House after 2018.
Yeah.
2014.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So they did it against all odds. Now, of course, he got to do it against the pandemic. All right. So when I think about Trump care, all right, I think about the fact that when they killed Mr. Floyd, as I stated earlier, opportunity.
So has the opportunity passed?
Oh, yeah, gone.
Mm.
Law enforcement has regrouped. They've recast themselves back into the potential. Wow, they were quitting. And retiring across the country. We don't need them. Quit, chump. If you can't come in dogging us, that's the only way you can serve us. We don't need you.
We don't need you.
Because there are plenty, that's one thing I will agree, there are plenty who can come in our community without doing that, of all colors.
Yeah.
Okay? All right? So we don't need them. Go home, retire, get your retirement. Boy in Louisville that got shot begging GoFundMe to get $75,000 to fund his retirement. I might talk to some of our family down there and donate. I don't know, just to get rid of it. So Voting Rights Bill of 2013, wiping out stuff. Trump Care. Lewis Bill, replacing it makes it stronger and more permanent. Trump Care couldn't have McConnell. McConnell's his puppet. No, he ain't even a puppet. I can't say on what I want to say, but his hand is positioned well in McConnell. All right. So those kinds of things in a pandemic are so tragic.
Yeah.
And some things will be irreversible.
Irreversible.
The businesses that'll be lost. Okay. Now there are new ones growing, and there'll be plenty. The one thing that's resilient about capitalism, it will find a way to make money.
Oh yeah, man. I just been, listening to some economists and their takes on some of the things, and because it's cyclical. Just certain cycles that are on the way. It's like, wow, it's kind of like you got to be positioning yourself to take advantage of what's to come, or
Absolutely.
Be positioning yourself to sustain what's coming.
Absolutely. And that's the power of opportunity, because it comes all the time.
Right.
All right. Are you prepared? What are you preparing yourself for? And that's the difference between liberation and survival, because so much of our community is in a survival mode, and they get hated on for being there. Okay. And that was the challenge of the opportunity zone for me. They weren't empowerment models. As much as they were welfare models.
Yeah.
Okay. When I say models, meaning that the person coming in making the investment ultimately would own the thing.
Right.
And so there was no ownership built into it. All right. I haven't dissected the platinum plan because that just came out to see if there's ownership in it. Okay.
Yeah.
Because again, if you own a piece of land, that's yours.
That's yours.
Okay. If you own a concept that is marketable and meaningful and can have people waiting on the next iPhone. Okay. All right. I got to buy some, but I'm not buying me. I had a 3, now I got a 7 Plus, and I'll probably have this one when the 22 come out.
Well, considering you got to help others get theirs, I'm going to try to help you get yours.
No.
Yeah.
No.
No
food.
That 7 they gonna cut it. But they think they slick. And just since you mentioned it, they doing everything they can to raise the bottom line, and that is they trimming all fat. Now it's sad. It's sad to see, and you see it, in different industries and different companies where it's like the ideas of the founder over time get lost, and the thing no longer represents what it was supposed to.
That's evolution. That's going to happen. That's unfortunately. The next generation always sees it differently, and that's good. It's the end user who always loses out. That's why I don't value it. But for what it can do, I don't value it because it's a 3 or a 4 or a 5 or a 6.
No,
it's I only value it.
You need to take better pictures. You got a better camera.
I would have never changed from my iPhone 3 if it wasn't the fact that it couldn't take no more apps. It couldn't do anything anymore. I still got it. It still works too. Yeah. Well,
but there was a time when it was like, oh, new iPhone, I gotta get it. It come out today. I need it today. But that time is long gone. So.
Well, it's coming out. But what I'm saying is that anticipation.
Oh, 100%. And they got us. They were so slick about it. I don't know if it was based on them not being ready or whatever. They had the event. Everybody expecting it. It don't come. Like, oh man, what's going on? We want a new phone this year. Then they come back a little bit later, like, here it is.
Well, I was on Motley Fool, and talking about Warren Buffett bought $90 billion or something, and all these people, returns are going to be very slim because they did cut the price to some degree.
They did a split.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a difference when you got $90 billion, because if you remember when we were Mr. Buffett, and he told us he had just bought a soft drink industry.
1 penny.
He was like, I couldn't buy it without doing something.
Right.
So he looked at how many was being sold across the world. What did he raise it? You said it.
A penny.
1 penny.
1 cent.
He said, who's going to pay attention to a penny?
Nobody. Smart man. Clearly. You don't got to gouge them. You don't got to gouge them to get what you want.
Well, when you're at his level and, you've been as blessed as he has been, as he said he was. And it's just interesting, And I guess over my life, and now you're getting the benefit of that also, as God has opened doors for you. Being able to sit with people like that, I don't go in there worried about race. I want to hear how they think.
Yeah, 100%. That's one thing. I'm always open to hear a perspective,
how people
train of thought,
right?
Just to kind of see or see it.
Yeah,
and I guess I've been fortunate to see a few things.
Well, I'm interested in hearing how people think. You see where they are, and that's always a distance.
Well, I mean, when you get to go and kind of look under the hood, so to speak.
Right. They you don't know them. They don't know you. That's just a moment in their life. You got to sit with them. But that moment can have some value if you just, okay, what am I going in here for? I'm going to hear how this dude thinks. Can I glean just a little bit?
Right.
How he thinks, how she thinks. Because over the years I've heard things that have said, okay, I can take that truth.
Yeah. Well, the gospel community is in a frenzy. Well, I don't know if that's true, but Billboard Awards just come out, and Kanye West has taken home 4 awards in the gospel/Christian section.
He's a minister, right?
Well,
yeah, church. And he can sing. He can sing about as good as anybody. He can arrange. He can produce.
No, this is true. It's good. I definitely enjoyed the album. I probably joked when it came out like, dang, it's probably going to win Gospel Album of the Year. And then it did. Not at the Grammys, but at the Billboard.
There's power, life and death in the power of the tongue.
Well, no, because it just goes back because, they was mad when, Jesus Walks won something way back when. And although that definitely was not gospel, this was real. It was real gospel. It was a great project. I really enjoyed it. And I think it's just interesting.
Well, I don't really, I've known a lot of people who won different awards in the music industry over the years, but I've never gotten into. I don't know the politics of it, so I can't really speak.
No, and we know. It's just funny. It's just a talking. We got a podcast, so we got to talk about it. But we people have been dismissed them just because they're not necessarily in tune. Which, to a similar point, male rap artist of the year, Post Malone. Like, come on.
Well, see, all right. Now this I do know.
Okay.
All right. If they get somebody close, then they're gonna give them an award to take them to the rest of the way.
Yeah.
All right. You never have to worry. That's always gonna happen.
Yeah, and it's been going on.
Right.
Whether it's the Grammys, whether it's the Billboard, and it's like, and then a lot of, oftentimes it brings up we boycott them. Let's start our own thing. And like, yeah, but the only down thing about it is like, in history, like those things are a blip on the radar. So it's like if we go back, 100 years from now, ain't nobody gonna know what was going on. Be like, oh, well, we look at these awards. Oh man, that must have been what was happening. And it's like, so that's my only thing about it.
I understand. Well, see, me, I don't have 100. I only have like, what am I? 53. I only got 53 years left, so my 120. So I look 53 years from now and see what's going on. If I was like, oh yeah, he was right about that Billboard award.
I'm just saying. No. Well, we just about to the end of our time. So I don't know. You got anything else?
I always have something else, but I think we're at the end of our time.
Oh. All right. Well.
Now, your mama said. Your mama said.
What she said?
Your mama said I could talk all day and all night.
Yeah.
She said I could talk as long as somebody listening. And I'm like, is anybody listening?
A couple people are listening. Since you brought that up, I just want to give a shout out to everybody that's tuned in right now and to those who continue to support. Yeah, man, we appreciate you. Send us some feedback. We've gotten some feedback. Send us a comment. Let us know what you're thinking, what you want to hear about.
Yeah, we gotta work on this thing to get the call in thing.
Yeah. No, I was thinking about that. Maybe we should have our first call next episode. We need to get some. I feel like it'll be a good thing if we take some proactive steps on the local level. Let's see. Let's get some local issues. Maybe let's get some local issues. I don't know. Yeah, we'll think about it, but maybe we'll have our first call next week.
Well,
Our first guest. We have some guests coming soon.
Yeah, local or non-local or I'm local, not LOCA. But I would enjoy that because there's several other shows I've been thinking about doing. And now that you teach me all this stuff, I'm like, wow, this is pretty good. I'm enjoying it. So it's going to be interesting to see how this thing continues to move forward. And I, too, join Pastor CJ with thank yous to those of you who've been tuning in. And I have been getting a little feedback from some people. And I've been enjoying what I've been hearing. And I'm sure there's some people that don't agree with me. I don't have no hate for you. You come on and let's talk. You got some facts that will have a biblical values discussion. Come on. The more theological degrees you have, the better.
Yeah.
I'm not here to take anybody down, but at the end of the day, over the years, I've tried to appreciate and value everybody's perspective, but I just still always go back to the scriptures and find Christ being in a different place.
Yeah, 100%.
Thank you.
Yeah. Until next week, y'all have a blessed day.
Blessed week, blessed life, stay safe. Vote. One time. Do not go and vote more than once. One time. All right. Vote one time. Vote at your board of election. Drop it off at the board of election. And if you just have to mail it, hurry up. Thank you. Bless you. Love you. Next time.